Da 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 da! What's my good cheer? Welcome, everybody. Let's give YouTube a couple of minutes to get those notifications out. In the meantime, if you've never popped into one of my lives before, hi, I'm Cindy. I explore the inside and the outside, and I was outside for a great deal of the day, and I am physically bagged, but not just physically bagged. I think I'm a little bit emotionally bagged too, when we have these little bits of movement that we don't expect, right? And I kind of expected as I was moving through the day that there was going to be a little bit of expulsion of energy. And I'm so grateful for that opportunity because sometimes we don't see that movement in our lives. Sometimes we have to look back a great distance in order to see, you know, any kind of movement, any kind of improvement, and whether it's in our lives or in some of those goals we set out, right? Some of those aspirations that we have for ourselves. Quite often, those aspirations aren't for us, right? We put that energy for other people. And, it gives you time to reflect when it actually takes you by surprise and you go, oh my goodness, I had nothing to do with that. I walked into it, but I'm so grateful that I walked into it because I would have never thought of it on my own. I would never have initiated it on my own. But, sometimes things need to be said, right? Sometimes things need to be resolved. Sometimes things need to be forgiven, right? Sometimes you just have to let it go. And I was talking to my sister today about this, that sometimes we just have to ride those waves because even though we have those goals, those dreams, those ambitions, those aspirations, it's the things that come in our path in between, right? Some of those unexpected things. And if we can ride those waves, if we can adapt and conquer, if we can overcome the situation, overcome ourselves, right? Or overcome the person that's, right, stopping us for what we're trying to get done. And there's some truth in that. And it all comes with the lessons that we picked up along the way. And to each of us, right, those lessons are going to be different because we have different upbringings, we have different ideas, different truths that we live by. We have different influence in our life. We have different, right, religious ideas, political ideas, and so constantly we're going to come up against different ideas, different thought patterns, different beliefs. And this is where we're going to go into our topic this week. And yes, I realize today is Monday. And if you're just popping into one of my lives for the first time, um, we are picking 54 words. Each week on Monday, I pick a word. And we get into it during the course of the week, looking at that word in different perspectives, right? Not just my own perspectives, but others' perspectives. Also, I try to do a majority perspective because, I think in that movement forward, we are going to have to find ways that we can um, get along with each other, right? Because we do have to move with each other. And it's difficult to move with people, right? When they are very headstrong in their beliefs and in their ideas, right? Those things that have influenced us as we're growing up and in that patterning of consistently doing it and also picking up the baton in those lessons and in that influence that we pick up. And then we carry on ourselves, right? Not even needing anybody to tell us that, right, what we're getting wrong or what we're getting right, right? So we have to be very hyper vigilant in that, noticing, right, the movement, the things that we do get right, because being highly sensitive, being empathic, right? We always think of others before we think of ourselves. I think, in that movement that I'm making, I'm learning to take myself into consideration, to make myself that priority, right? I have to make sure that I'm doing this in a healthy way, not just and not just healthy for myself, but healthy in a way that people who are different than me, that are very unique and very set in their ideas and in the way that they want to move and where they want to move, that we could find some common ground, some commonality, so that for at least a little while, right, maybe we can kind of roll together, right, kind of move together, kind of learn together. And that's kind of the idea of picking 54 words. I got more than 54 words, but we're just picking 54 words. Don't ask me why it's 54. It's 54, right? But we are on word number 11 this week, and we're just going to do a quick, like the 12 days of Christmas, and kind of go through some of those words that we've picked up along the way. And then I'm going to tell you what I would like to do this week, right? For those of you, again, who are just popping into my lives, right? Or for those of you who have been with me all week in that quagmire, that mogmire of blah, that I had to go through. And I went through that. But at the same time, me going through that, right? I had no choice, because I show up fresh like a loaf of bread, right? I dragged you guys through it too, and that was the issues that I was having with my laptop. And as you can see by the resolution of my picture, that we're up and running again with the lives. Now, editing those videos, we're going to hack away at that tomorrow, but I'm going to give myself a little bit of a head start tonight by doing a little bit of research into what I could possibly have gotten wrong. We're back up and running when it concerns the laptop, but the editing program, right? We're still at those problems that I have. But at least the very now, I'm not going to be deleting stuff. I'm not going to be moving files, right? We're going to keep it the way it is, knowing, right, for sure it has to be a permission issue. So we're going to do a little bit of Googling tonight, right? Because Googling pulls me through every single time. If you don't know, I'm a Google girl, right? Right? And maybe I'm not the best Google girl out there in the whole world, but I do it in my style, and I try to do it with those values that, Google and YouTube would like us to follow, because, right, it's in their health too, right? YouTube's health, in the way that I play, the way that I show up here, right? The way I represent. And YouTube can give us the lessons, right? And, right, if you're a content creator, those lessons, they serve us very well. And friends. I have friends. I consider them friends, followers, people who are also YouTubers, who are having issues with their content and with their brands, right? But that's in our choices, right? We can butt heads with those we serve, because we do serve, right? YouTube, right? We are part of this community, and again, their health is dependent on the health of the content that we bring to the platforms, and whether or not, right, we're going to be problems, right? We're going to stir the pot, and right. And I've never been that person personally in my life, but especially when it comes to investing in that loyalty, investing in those relationships, right? And that's why, sometimes I push a little bit hard when it comes to, right, learning to have common values with each other, because I would like to get to know everybody. I would like to have a conversation with everybody and anybody. I would like to make movement with people who are different with me, because I love different. I love unique. I love different experiences, different ideas, different perspectives, right? Because, again, a lot of my perspectives are programmed in and not necessarily, right? True. But because it's what I know, it's what I've always lived by and how I've moved by, right? I continue to move. But I am willing to be course corrected. And I think sometimes when we get right, we cross those boundaries if we don't do something right, especially, like what I'm doing here on YouTube. I would expect to have that course correction, whether it's a penalty or a suspension, right? Because we have to look out for the health of this brand. And here's Nancy, and here's somebody distinctly who does have problems, and not because of anything she stirs up, but because the 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 feedback and the blowback that YouTube and Google get consistently, because it is a control thing, and because there's such a huge corporate company, right? That, when you get up there, when you become the leaders, also become the target, right? You become somebody that people will want to bring down to their levels, right? When you see something doing well, right, and you're not doing well, those feelings, they get hurt, right? That resentment, that jealousy. And sometimes we do strike out, and sometimes, right, it does happen. But I am a Google girl. I have to play and it's not a game, right? But it's in the patterning. It's in consistently showing up and paying attention to the rules, paying attention to the rules, paying attention to who I'm speaking to, right? Paying attention to who I'm speaking to, and really practicing what I'm preaching, right? That, and I'm not, it's funny that I say that word preaching, because my sister said that I preach a little bit, right? We had a conversation, and it was not a super long one, but it was super deep. It took a lot out of my system. And I sure took a little bit out of hers too, but at the same time, it brought a little bit of resolution. It brought a little bit of, I think, understanding on both our parts, right? But more importantly, I think maybe a little bit of food for thought, right? I pay attention. She says, Cindy, you're getting a little bit preachy. And I says, okay, right? So we go light after that. Keep that conversation good, right? The conversation is going well. We're making movement, right? We're building up some of that conversation on some of those deep subjects that scar us. And again, try to find, and it's not just putting a band-aid over, but really voicing and having conversations and really letting each other know how we feel, right? Setting up those boundaries so that we don't oh, you did take it down, did you, dear? Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Nancy. Right? I would have kept it up for yourself. What are you going to do with your layout table now? What are you going to do with that big table? You said you had plans for it. You were going to do something else, right? And I know you do have another YouTube channel. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Nancy. You love your layout, especially for, oh, right. And you love your crafting too, Nancy. And that's the thing. We have to consistently try different things, right? To actually find that super passion. I know you love your trains. I know it's your number one passion. But if you cling to that passion, right? Maybe it isn't your true passion. Maybe you're going to find it as you move into this next endeavor. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to hear that, Nancy. I'm sorry to hear that. Right at Halloween too. You must have had a bad moment, I think, Nancy, for you to take that instant initiative to start that process. Maybe was that 10 minutes after you did it or before you did it? I'd like to know if you don't mind letting me know. I would like to know that. But yeah, that's sorry to hear that, Nancy, before you did it. Hey, before you did it. Oh my goodness. I'm proud of you, right? I can't say because that was a big move on your part, Nancy, right? That was a big decision to do that. If you don't know Nancy, if you've never met Nancy before, Nancy's one of my top moderators on my live show, Chatters Live, that we do on Sunday nights here on YouTube. Nancy's been in a wheelchair now since her young adulthood, and she loves trains. She trains when she was a teenager. She spent many years, right? It had become a passion. She's had this train layout for the longest time, and she's dismantled it, right? Dismantled it because she's been having problems with YouTube because of the trains, the kids finding her content, and because her content is not for the children, they're adult train sets, and right, and not even necessarily adult conversations, right? But it is a place where children congregate at the same time as adults do, and YouTube is really quite stickler on taking care of the kids and what influences the children, and Nancy became stuck between a rock and a hard place. And I've been with Nancy. This has been something she has been struggling with in her decision making ever since she's been hanging out with me. And been with me for almost a decade now. And that conversation has come up numerous times during the course of every single year, and she's never dismantled it before, and she's done it now. Huge decision on Nancy's part, very impactful in her personal life because her love is tied up in it, her passion and her joy, and those few beautiful, happy memories, if I can say that, Nancy, if you don't mind, because I've had conversations and interviews with Nancy too on these topics. Like, it was her whole life. It was her joy. It was her reason for living. And she made a decision. And we all know when we make a choice and we take action on those choices, change comes about. I am I would like to say curious and optimistic, Nancy, to see what change is going to come into your life because of that decision that you made. That is very brave of you to do that. But I also know at the same time that it was probably very heartbreaking. Like you said, you broke down and cried for 10 minutes before you dismantled it. Yeah, my heart goes out to you, Nancy. Yeah, that was a big decision. I'm a little bit pig-headed. I don't know if I could have done it, but Nancy, I know you're pig-headed too, right? But we all get to make the choice in those battles that we're going to bring to the table, right? And I guess that was a battle. Nancy had had enough, and it was time to pivot, right, Nancy? It was time to pivot, and Nancy's going to pop up like a jack in a box, just like she's done since the day I met her. She's going to pop up like a jack in a box, and I'm excited, Nancy, in all truth, to see what you're going to do with your with your channel. If you're going to um, bring the babies in, right? She does realistic newborns, and she's got a big family, so that's a new passion of hers. Maybe she'll do something with that. But again, she's saying it's crafting table. So maybe she'll do a crafting, because Nancy's very creative, right? But in this pivot, it's for her to make the choice, right? Right? Not to be dictated by others, that she will decide, right? What she's going to do with her channel. I'm pretty. Oh, good. Good, Nancy. Good. That's absolutely fabulous. So, right, this was meant to be then. You've maybe all those signs and all those struggles that you had with your YouTube channel, Nancy, was to get you back onto the main track, to get you to pivot, because you are so stubborn, right? Nancy literally, this, I shouldn't laugh, but it's so true. Nancy is so pig-headed that she literally has to go down. She has to go down before she'll break, right? She is so independent. I consider myself to be independent, right? And yet Nancy would outdo me any day on that topic. But I'm going to say I'm very proud of you, Nancy, that you made that big decision. Change is coming. We know what happens when we make a choice and we put action towards choice. Change cannot help but happen. And I know Nancy, she's going to ride those waves. And like I said, every single thing that has taken Nancy down in her stubbornness and in her vulnerability. Sorry, let me try that word again. Vulnerability. Vulnerable. Right? Pop up like a jack in a box. I love you, Nancy. I have no qualms in saying that I trust you 100%, that you are going to do something. It's going to be amazing, right? Right? And you mix it all together. That's exactly what you want to do. Mix all your passions together. Don't leave anything out, because YouTube is a hard nut to crack, right? I've been at this for almost 10 years now here on YouTube. I started my channel in 2000. Oh no, 10 years. Yeah, 10 years. I've been at this for almost 10 years. So 2014. I think it was just shortly before the new year that I actually uploaded my first video. So we are going on 10 years. It's a process. I haven't cracked that nut yet, right? But I only need one nut, right? I only need one nut. There's lots of protein in nuts. There's lots of value in nuts. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, you guys. So today we're picking our first word. And I was going to tell you what those 10 words, because these are going to be my top 10 words. These first 10 years, that our first 10 words that we picked, these are going to be my what do you call that, my arcana deck, right? These are going to be the top cards. So these are the words, and they'll be in order that I read them from 1 to 10. So we picked one word every week, even it's a surprise to me, right? And so the first 10 words that we have delved into and we spent a whole week on is the change, choices, respect and honor, vision, gratefulness, comfort, risk, purpose, learning. That was a good week. That was a good week. Learning's a big one, you guys. Learning's a big one, right? You get one lesson, the next lesson comes, right? Just keep moving forward, right? And then last week, and like I said, quagmire, is that what you call it? Where it's just all muddy and you can't make any movement, and it was just a struggle. It was frustrating. It was a little worrisome. It was a lot of adapt and conquer. I have this motto that I show up fresh like a loaf of bread every single day. And I didn't have my laptop, and I was using 340 resolution webcam. I was using my phone on my YouTube where, we're doing vertical and not horizontal, right? This is horizontal. This is what I want for my YouTube, right? The vertical that can stay on Instagram, right? And we had great conversation yesterday on Instagram. Was it yesterday? No, the day before. Saturdays I spend on Instagram. Sundays I have a live show, Chatters Live, on Sunday nights, and then I have this daily show that I do. And like I said, we delve into a word and we spend that whole week on the word, on the word. So, what I want to do this week, because last week was such a mess, right? It was, and it was an important word. It's a big word in my life because it was something that I had to really, really learn to believe. And there's this, and it wasn't the idea of believing in myself. And there was a lesson in this last week, right? That I spend so much time trying to get other people to believe in me when most and what is most important is that I believe in myself. So this week, whatever word we pick, right, we're going to have little lessons uh, mingled in with this week. So it's going to get a week and a half. I brought the content to the table, but a lot of it was a lot of that blah, that I was going through in the week, and a lot of that, I was going through during the week, and a lot of that, I'm getting this, a lot of that. There was a lot of different emotions going on, and yet there was so much movement. There was so much um, physical movement in my life, right? A lot of movement that way. I was getting lots of things done, right? Because I didn't have my laptop and because I was trying to, right, get things done when I wasn't doing what I was planning on doing, but because we have to adapt and conquer, right? We have to show up the best that we can because I said that I show up fresh like a loaf of bread, that I was going live no matter, right, what tool I was using. And we got through the week, but it wasn't pretty, right? Right? It was a bit of a struggle in it, and so I thought that this week, as we pick the word and we're going to do our first perspective on the word, I have no idea what we're going to pick, right? We're just going to and we'll pick something, and all week we're going to talk about it, but we're also going to carry on with this word believe that plays a huge role in my movement, that plays a huge role in me being here right now in this moment, right? I may have shown up somehow, right? But would it have been consistent? Would have I been consistent in my understandings, right? Or would I be just showing up because I have to show up, right? I want to show up, right? I want to show up and I want to do a good job. I'm not here because I have to, right? I'm here because this is my brand. This is mine, right? This whole channel is mine. This is my work, right? This is my contribution. This is my give back. This is my showing gratefulness for being shown the way, right? This is the accountability to myself, right? Because I have to show up every single day because my value for myself, right? Because unfortunately, being highly sensitive and being empathic, Our value comes from what other people think of us, right? And so we're always looking for others to believe in us. And it doesn't matter how much we believe in ourselves. I believe in what I'm doing, right? And in the lessons that I get, even though sometimes I don't understand them, I believe they're important. It's why I come back after my live shows and go back over the lesson because I know there's a little tidbit for myself. But today, the the gifts were in the actions that I took. I went and I went to the optometrist today. We're working on those glasses. I got a little bit of good news and a little bit of bad news, right? The good news is I think I'll be able to manage the glasses by the end of the month. The exact glasses I want, right? With the anti-reflective, because you can see when I'm doing my lives how the light kind of bounces off of it. So I would like to have better presentation for myself there. Also, being in my progressives, I'm in progressives now, that, right, they have to look good. And I found a nice pair of frames that were reasonably priced. And my prescription, I needed a new prescription. So the last two pairs of glasses that I had, my glasses didn't need to be changed in prescription. This time my prescription does need to be changed, and I'm good with that because I want to have good eyesight, right? And I'm always prepared that this might be my last pair of glasses, right? So as I have these problems, these hiccups, and for those of you who don't know, I got thrown out of my bus seat on a bus and I destroyed my glasses. And so we have to have them replaced. And that's part of taking care of myself. And the good thing about that, investing that money now in my glasses, it's going to make it so that I'm at my threshold to my medical expenses, which means I'm going to get a little bit back for my income tax return because, right, the next goal for this year in taking care of Cindy, right, is to get my dental work done. So we're going to be working on dental, right? And we know how expensive dental is, especially when you don't have proper insurance. So those are my two goals. And of course, the third is always my yearly vacation. I think I would like to do an RV this year. That's the goal, is an RV. Isn't that exciting? An RV, one of the drivable ones, not the ones that you attach to a truck, but one that's drivable, a nice, beautiful little camper, right? So I'm going to be doing some research on that, get a deposit down on that, right? Start creating the most amazing vacation for myself. And we just came off a vacation. But in those struggles, in those bad times, in those times that I have to adapt and conquer, those times as I'm working on these goals that are going to cost me lots of money and they're going to cost me frustration and it's going to cost me time and appointments and, right, maybe not getting the pair that's going to look good on me, but what does it matter now? Because, right, I got gun tape on my glass handles right now. So right, but that's all we do. We do the best we can and we move forward. So I'm going to be proud of myself. I'm going to be proud of the day that I had, right? Because I walked at least 8 kilometers today. I spent some quality time, not just a short visit. I spent quality time with both my sisters, well, two of the three sisters. I spent quality time with them. I picked them up coffees. We had deep conversations. We got a little bit of healing done, a little bit of motivation and inspiration, not just for her, but for me too. Right? And maybe we'll talk about it. We'll see if we can fit it in on the conversation. But let's pick that word right now that we're going to be talking about. The sequencing of these words that we have picked is really kind of freaky because I don't think I could have picked, well, I could have put forgiveness in there as one of my top words, but it wasn't to be. So it wasn't to be. And I'm not going to question that. When we get on the topic of forgiveness, you guys be ready for a little bit of forgiveness, not just a little bit, a whole bunch, a whole big whack of it. And we know that there are situations and people out there, right, that we would just love to get over, right? Would love to overcome, but for whatever reason, we hold on to these grudges. We hold on to the resentment, the jealousy. We just don't let it go. And I've had that opportunity to have a little bit of true forgiveness going on. And I think today there was a little bit there, even though the words aren't said, but the words are not always said. It all depends on your programming because lots of people are brought up. Both of my parents never ever, I never heard my father say I'm sorry. I have never heard my mother say she was sorry for anything. And there was lots that they could have and should have been apologetic for, that they should have expressed in the pain that they might have caused somebody else or in the family, right? To themselves, even, because we know we need to forgive ourselves just as much as we need to forgive others. Okay, so I'm rambling, you guys. So what we're doing is we're going to mix a little bit of believe, because last week that word believe did not get its just dessert, didn't get its just time, its fair time, its fair value on the market. So we're going to make sure it gets a little bit of introduction on this word. Okay, you guys, let's pick our word for next week. I wasn't procrastinating on that, but we know when Cindy starts yibber yabbing, we got to get over that first before we go on to the next thing. You guys, we're picking the next word. We're picking the next word. Here it is. Compassion. Oh my goodness, you guys, we got compassion this week. That is such a good one. Because you know what? Just in some of the lessons that I got this week, right? And when I say lessons, you guys, you might find in the repetitiveness of me saying that word lesson. Sometimes lessons is a conversation. Sometimes lessons is an experience. A lesson for me is just something that I experienced and absorbed something new, right? And whether it helps me to move forward, right? It doesn't necessarily have to help me move forward. Might help somebody else move forward because maybe it's no use to me, that little tidbit of information, but that information came across my path for a reason. So I have to, right, understand that it's meant for something. And so I have to be um hyper vigilant in paying attention, right? Paying attention. Wow, we got a good word this week. Compassion. This word compassion is um the one word of one of the girls that I work with at work. She has lost, last time I counted, I didn't count, but she tells me all the time when these things happen. She's had 9 family members since this time, sorry, not this time, Christmas last year to now. So just under a year, she's had 9 family members pass away. And then she's also had a couple of close members of her family pass away. Um, my friend, and she is my friend. She's my coworker, but we have become very close over the past couple of years. We are teammates, confidants, right? Good influences towards each other. Very different, very unique from each other too, and yet we find these commonalities and shared values. Me and her move with shared values. Her one word is compassion. Her family lives up north. She's Indigenous. Her family's Indigenous. They live up north, and but they come down into the city to visit her on occasion and stuff. But she is like the matriarch of her family, like my sister Tracy, right? Likes to be the matriarch of our family. There's only us four girls left, and then right, we have two nieces and one nephew. That's our family. Oh, and we have our brother-in-law Ian, who's absolutely amazing, and he fits our family so well, right? And he's super loved, but he's on his own journey and he's living his own story, just like every single one of us is, right? But in that compassion to appreciate what each other goes through, right? By putting ourselves in each other's shoes. My friend, her name's Lorraine. She won't mind me saying her name's Lorraine. Again, she has lost so many family members, and she works hard, right? She works with me, but the difference between her and the way my life moves is, right, I don't surround myself with a lot of people that, right, that tend to rely on me and need me. I leave that in my work 100%, right? But in my personal life, I really try to make that for myself, for my movement, for my joy, for my dreams, my ambitions, my aspirations. That's that's for me. It's why I schedule my life and my work life the way it is, right? So that I'm able to contribute to that part that puts the roof over my head in the moment, but at the same time, practice my craft, right? In reflection, contemplation, in taking in the lessons, in just going out and having adventures on my vacation and out and about and having conversations and meeting people, right? And sharing each other's gifts to each other. Her family truly relies on her quite a bit when these episodes happen. I shouldn't call them an episode because they're not episodes. These events, like that, because that's what they are. They're life changing events. This is family, right? This is family, and that's a big hurt. But when this happens, because of Lorraine's one word, she is immediately sought after for her being the matriarch, to call the shots, to shine on the family, to help hold the pain, because that's what highly sensitives and empaths do, right? To be the rock for the family, to be the shoulder to cry on, to be that person to come up with the ideas and the resolutions for all the little hiccups and plans and things that you got to do when it concerns family members passing away. But she's had a very hard year of it. I mean, can you imagine? That's eight people plus a few family friends. That's almost one a month. It's incredible to me because in my whole life, I can count on one hand, right? On one hand, people that I have lost. I probably a couple of fingers I wouldn't even have to use, right? But this word compassion, how it plays out in my life right now, is that compassion for myself, right? And it's not in a selfish way, it's in a very needy way. It's the lessons that I need. It's that idea, right, that I have to believe in myself, that I have to be my own best confident, my own best friend, right? My best cheerleader, right? That sometimes we can search out in that world for a little bit of compassion for ourselves, but through the actions and the understanding of others, to bump up against nothing, right? Nothing. Her, my friend Lorraine's family loves her deeply, right? Or they wouldn't have sought her out in that one word that she lives by, like this is incredible. And she knew right away when I asked her what it was. She knew right away what it is, and then right away that word started playing out this year. Now I don't know if there's a connection to that, right? But compassion. And for me, that compassion is to put myself in other people's shoes in order so that I can see what do they need. And because I work in emotions, right? Because I'm looking at it through my own experiences and right, being highly sensitive and being empathic, right? Being scapegoated, being raised in a dynamic family. These are all ingredients that contribute to my ability and my wantability, right? Compassion's her own word, right? Lorraine's there in a minute. But for me, right, this this grief, this word grief is very scary for me, right? The first death I ever experienced that I truly understood, right, was my father's passing. And it was a very traumatic experience for me and not an experience that I wanted to go through, right? And yet, even though I haven't gone through many of of these close family members passing away, well, I would have to say those were the choices that I made in my life, right? To just be around people, to feel like I belong. And you know, when you have compassion for somebody, that's your heart going out to them. So I have to reflect, in some of the choices in the people that I surrounded myself with, right? Right? Because I didn't put compassion first. And, you know, um, when it comes to compassion, I get those twangs of what if that was me? What if I was in that situation? Or I've been in that situation where there's rejection, right? For a gazillion different reasons, right? There is that pain from our past that makes it so, right? It's very scary to make that movement because whenever you made that movement, it's always seemed to blow up in your face, or it's turned around, and the one good thing that you want to do, it's turned into something that's right, that is not nice, that is possibly unkind. And sometimes we believe it. It happened to me just recently in the past few months, and I almost got sucked into almost for 2 minutes, right? And I was kind of proud of myself that I caught it so that I had time to do a little bit of course correction, a little bit of damage control, that I could bring a little bit of compassion for myself because I was just about to jump in and hold guilt and shame for something that there shouldn't have been any guilt and shame. But because it was brought up and because we hold on to ideas and thought patterns, right, that we believe the people around us before we even believe ourselves, that sometimes we take it on and we believe that, right? So grateful that even though I almost got sucked in, and maybe I did get sucked into it for maybe 2 minutes, right? But after 2 minutes, those lessons popped in. And the first thing I had to do was give myself compassion, right? For being sucked in. Because there is nothing worse than taking the same lesson over and over and over and over again just to not fully get the lesson, to fail in the lesson. And it is in the patterning, right? It is in the patterning that sometimes we need that lesson 2 or 3 times. Sometimes we need it 2 or 300 times. Sometimes you can wake up at 57 years old and say, I've had that lesson hundreds of times. Why didn't I see it before? Right? Well, you're seeing it now because now's the time that that lesson is meant to be for you, right? And if you're struggling with that, and I struggled with it lots, it's just having that compassion for yourself, right? And just believing that that lesson came in the moment when it was supposed to, right? It's not like these things were kept from you or kept from me or kept from you, right? But it is in our choices. And sometimes in taking that baton and treating ourselves badly or trash talking ourselves or not cheerleading ourselves or not holding ourselves accountable and saying, oh my goodness, do not sit on that couch with the remote control. Get up, go for a walk, right? Go to the mall. Open the doors for people. Say your please and thank yous, right? Help a little old lady across the street, right? Because that couch and the remote control is the giving up, right? Oh, that didn't work. Let's watch some Big Brother, right? Right? That's too painful. I'm not doing that. Forget that. Give me the couch and the remote control, right? No movement is not going to stir the pot. If I sit here and quietly watch my television show, right? And you never watch the television show quietly because you're always throwing your opinion at the screen, aren't you? I know when I watch Big Brother, right? Right? Or something exciting or right? It's like that scary music starts on in a movie. The British were really good with the scary music. Like the movie didn't even have to be scary, but they were so good with the scary music that you would be like walking up the stairs, you go, oh, don't look behind the corner, something's gonna jump up, because the music is in the anticipation and it's in that thinking that it's gonna happen, right? So we have to bring the compassion to ourselves and that idea, if we're gonna put that word believe in it, right? You have to fail. You have to fail because those lessons, we don't catch the lessons, right? Sometimes I need the lessons over and over and over and over again, right? And some of those lessons still don't sink in, but I don't beat myself up. I try to give myself compassion and say, okay, well, that lesson's coming at me now. I don't quite get it, right? Obviously, it means something. Is there something I can do? Is there a question I can ask? Is there something I can do for myself to make it so that I feel better because I'm not getting it, right? Because I'm not getting it. There's lots of lessons I'm taking this week, right? Especially when it comes to this laptop. I'm not getting it. But I have to have compassion for myself, right? Tonight I'm just going to do some Googling. I'm going to ask some questions and I'm going to see if Google has some answers and some ideas for me. I'll write them all down, but I'm not going to be doing any exploring, any experimenting, right? Right now, tonight, because I have been giving myself a little bit of compassion and a little bit of putting myself in my shoes, knowing what I want to do tomorrow, knowing that when it gets difficult, I'm going to want to jump up, right? I'm going to want to change the topic. I'm going to want to get away from it. I'm going to want the couch and the remote control, right? I'm going to want. It doesn't mean I'm going to take the couch and the remote control, but I'm going to want it. And that's not a good feeling either, right? It's not a good feeling either. So having that compassion for myself that when I do have that feeling of, okay, we're going to have to take a break because I'm going to pull my hair out. I'm going to pull somebody else's hair. I wouldn't pull anybody else's hair, but you know what I mean in that frustration that I have other things that I love, other things that I've got to get done that possibly I could just pop up just for a few minutes because tomorrow is dedicated to editing. Not like I'm going to get any, I'm optimistic, but the idea is to figure out how to get myself back up and running. Then I have another day off. And if I get it back up and running tomorrow, the next day I will edit a short video and post it right away. Post it right away. That one I edited with that click champ or whatever it was. Oh, it was so terrible. Right? But we're back up and running here at the very least, right? So I'm happy and I'm grateful, and give myself a break, right? I didn't do so well. I didn't do so well last week. I would have liked to have delved into the lessons a little bit deeper, but my head, right? My thoughts, my mind, my stresses were in overcoming the problems that I was having, not realizing that, that I probably didn't have to push or be as anxious about it as I had to. But at the same time, I think it might have gotten me back up and running, at very least this way, a little bit faster, right? In the end, maybe I could have gotten a little bit of benefit that even tomorrow, right, I'm going to be working on this, right? Working on my brand, working on getting my editor all up and running again. You heard this. You've been hearing this for the past month, you guys. But I did have that editor going. So there is a way. And like Marie Folio says, right? Nothing's unsolvable. There's an answer for this. So tonight I'm just going to Google only because I did get a lot accomplished. I gave of myself. I gave to my day. I gave to the movement that I needed to do. So now I want to give to myself. I've got a meatloaf in the oven now. I'm going to have some dinner. Going to get into some lessons. Then I'm going to do some Googling, going to make some notes on some ideas on what I'm going to do. And then tomorrow I'm going to edit. And then tomorrow afternoon I'm going to pop in, right? And let you guys know how I'm doing, right? And maybe that won't even happen. Maybe I'll have a video up and running even before I have an opportunity to say something, and you guys will see that evidence, right, of that movement right off the hop. Okay, you guys. So, first perspective, let's start with a little bit of compassion for ourselves. It has been the topic of the month. I agree, right? Because I can see in the patterning of the words and the conversations that I've been having that we're spending a little bit of time taking care of ourselves. Like, right? You can see it in different aspects of even my life. The way I'm working on my glasses this week, the way I'm anticipating and working on getting the dental work done, how I'm getting this laptop working up and running, getting a few things up and running properly at work, right? Holding myself accountable still and showing up here fresh like a loaf of bread every single day. Showing myself some compassion because I'd say that's a pretty full plate, right? Not tooting my horn, but I'm holding myself accountable, right? And yes, last week was a bit of a mess, but I held myself accountable, didn't I? Right? I showed up fresh like a loaf of bread every single day, right? Had to have a little bit of compassion on myself because I wasn't showing up quite the way I would have liked to. Showing myself a little bit of compassion because I wasn't showing this word that we got last week, believe, and I wasn't giving it the time and the contribution that I really would have liked to have given it. So hopefully I can make up for it this week, that maybe that compassion and that belief, we can kind of mush it a little bit together this week, only so that it could have its fair share of focus, because it is a very important word, this word believe, and it is in the top 10 words that I've picked so far. And we're carrying on. Word number 11, we got compassion. We'll come at it with a different perspective tomorrow. Maybe I'll do some Googling tonight to see what thought leader out there uh, has their one word as compassion that they'll be able to contribute on that topic. I think it's a very, very good word, compassion, because it's something we don't have a lot of right now. And well, maybe we do have a lot of it because we wouldn't be so stressed about it and we wouldn't be so hyper focused, right? we wouldn't have those opinions, right? Unless we had some of those compassionate feelings for the struggles and the pain that the people, right? Whether it's our immediate family or our immediate community, whether it's in our country or whether it's in another country. And we're going to send some good cheer because I live behind a fire station. Let's hope it's a false alarm. They get there and they're going to have to turn around and go right back, right? Okay, you guys. That's my good cheer. Oh, Andrew showed up too. Fantastic. You guys, have a good night and we'll see each other maybe tomorrow. And if we don't, we'll see you next Sunday on our show, Chatters Live. For this week, we have the word compassion. So we're going to come up back at it tomorrow. And I'm going to give myself a little bit of that tonight. We're going to start with meatloaf for dinner. Okay, you guys, have a great night. We'll see each other tomorrow. Bye bye.